Welcome to the Fox Den Podcast, where leaders gather to grow. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fox Den. This is Stephen Allen Fox with you today again. Great episode. Today, joining us is Sarah Hicks, who is a professional conductor and speaker who travels the world conducting various different orchestras with concerts, everything from classical to a lot of film music to live to film concerts, everything in between. One of the busiest conductors and people that I know in this industry. Great at what she does. I'm so happy and privileged that she is here with us today. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us, and welcome.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, and it's going to be an interesting conversation. And I think, talking about everything that you do, I know at one point you told me that you, out of 52 weeks in the year, you're probably traveling well over 30 of those weeks. 37
this year. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
37 weeks this year. And I know in many of those situations, from week to week, it might be a totally different orchestra and team of people that you're walking into to do how many ever rehearsals you have and how many ever performances you have, and then the last performance happens and you're on to the next place. And sometimes there's not even time to say thanks to everybody, because by the next morning or that night you're on a flight to someplace else. Mm-hmm. To me, it's that the idea of almost every single week you're with new people is interesting. To be at mm-hmm. your level, and at your level of professionalism and your level of control, not in the negative way, of leading a group of people. And when you walk in, it might be people you've only worked with once before in your life, or maybe never before, or just very infrequently, but yet instantaneously, you all have to be on the same page. And in some cases, I'm guessing, you might only have one rehearsal, and then mm-hmm. it's time to do the concert. And I thought, do you have a philosophy or an approach or something that has kind of become your thing, that when you walk in the door, okay, how am I going to start this? What's my mm-hmm. approach and preparedness so that this can launch off and very quickly and efficiently be at performance level?
That's the question, isn't it? And I think it applies to everyone. I think earlier on in my career, and I've been doing this for 25 years now, I tried to imagine what a conductor should look like, what that conversation with an orchestra should look like, sort of attaching to myself the idea of what should be rather than authentically being myself. And I think an orchestra and an ensemble sniffs that out immediately, that you're putting on a front, that you're trying to be someone that you're not. I realize that my approach is personable. It's a little bit more casual than most conductors are, and use very direct language and not try to be flowery, because that's just who I am. And I think that people, and certainly groups of people, are able to understand if you are being yourself or not. So I think that is something I've learned along the way to incorporate in the way in which I approach large groups of people, orchestras and others. The other is being able to assess, is reading the room and seeing where the orchestra is at that particular point in time. It's a group of individuals, which we tend to forget, with their own, personal individual moods, that really contributes to what that ensemble is feeling like that day. Is it the end of the season? Are they really tired? Is this the fourth concert in a week? Are they excited to be there? What's the music like? What energy is it going to take? And then to also assess within the first minute, I know if it's a great string section and maybe not, they have a lot of substitute players in the wind section, so they might be a little bit weaker, or where the strengths and weaknesses are. And that's part of my job in knowing and being able to really understand quickly what the situation is, and then to be there as a guide and a help to make sure that the sections that need my guidance or more direct communication or more cues, that I'm there for them. And third, I would say it's understanding, and my deep philosophy is that we're all there to accomplish a singular directive, and that we are greater than the sum of our parts. But I don't create any sound, and I rely on the expertise of other people to bring my vision to life. And they're relying on me to be clear about what that vision is, and an efficient and I guess, compassionate manner, which is really important to me. So it's combining all of those elements of authenticity, seeing where people are, and then really understanding that it's a give and take all the time, in rehearsal and concert. Sometimes I need more from them, and sometimes I see those frightened eyes, and they need more from me. So it's really a constantly morphing relationship. And to your point, it's really hard to do it when it's a absolutely new group of people. But I find that basic approach works around the world, even when language is somewhat of a barrier.
Yeah, I love the first comment you made about authenticity, because I remember at the start of my career, I moved out to LA. I thought I was going to be the next John Williams as a film composer, and even when I would conduct, I would find myself watching how conductors did certain things, and like, oh, well,
Mm,
that must be the way that you do it. But there's something releasing when you finally have that reality that, okay, I'm learning from watching them and I'm taking the parts of them that work for me and disregarding the parts that don't. But when you finally give yourself permission to just be you,
hmm
and there's actually something empowering about that, and
hmm
suddenly I think I think people even respond to that. It's not just they can
hmm
see that you're actually not putting up a front. It's there's a confidence that comes through with that when you finally just say, "This is me. Okay, let's do this." Um,
hmm
and it's funny because after you say that, the couple of times that I've been able to work with you and seen you do your thing, exactly what you're saying comes through. It's like from talking to you before the rehearsal to watching you get on the
hmm
podium to watching you walk to get it's Sarah Hicks everywhere you go. It's not it's
Right.
not it's not somebody different or somebody that
hmm
you think, oh, they you might adjust certain things based on the need that's in the
hmm
moment.
hmm
Um, which I think is interesting to your second point is being able to quickly read the room. So are you at, I mean, you've been doing this for so many years, this might not be a conscious thought anymore, but was there a point, or even still is there a point where you walk in and some of that goes through your mind, okay, where are these people? Or
hmm
is it more instinctual now that you just, as you start the rehearsal, as you're talking to everybody, you're just aware? Or do you still ever have to
hmm
think about, well, wait a minute, even a conscious thought when you recognize something, do you then have to think, how am I going to adapt to that? Or do you find that they're just tools in your bag now?
I mean, I do think I have tools in my bag. I do keep adding to them. And because I would say the more international work I do, the cultural differences also come into play in terms of how I might communicate or how I see where people are. I definitely do consciously sort of do a room scan to see who's there, who's looking up with anticipation, who's on their phone. Just looking at people's expressions, if they're curious about you or there's already sort of a wall, they don't want to deal with someone new, or if they're interested. I mean, those are things that I'm looking for. How the concertmaster shakes my hand. Is it enthusiastic? Do they look wary? Do people look up at me when I talk? I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm actually looking for, and it really is all about how much energy are they directing towards me? Are they looking to me for leadership, for guidance? Are they interested in what I have to say or what my physical vocabulary is? And if they're not, I need to find a way to get them to do that via more energy, or it could be just dropping in a quick joke about something to get everyone's sort of mood lifted. And then just knowing if it's a point where people are tired or they don't want to be there and it has nothing to do with me. So to not take
Right.
it personally and to sort of meet them where they are and say, hey, you guys look tired. I'm tired too. I just got off a 10-hour flight, but hey, let's do this. And that tends to at least get people, as you said, on the same page where we can start the work.
What I think is interesting about that could apply to anybody in any field is I would think to be in that position where you can walk in, be assessing that and be aware of those things and adjusting what you're about to do to accomplish the goal based on that feedback, I guess you could call it, that you're getting.
Hmm
That means that you're walking in the door prepared. You know what you
hmm
need to do. You know how to do what you need to do. So you can mentally have the bandwidth to be aware
hmm
of them and what you
hmm
need to do to lead them. Because I think there's especially
hmm
young leaders, I think, or maybe leaders with maybe a little bit too much ego, they make it
hmm
about themselves and then they wonder why
mm
they're not connecting. And
Right.
from day
hmm
from minute number one, you're already finding a way to connect, which means you're walking in the door knowing I got my stuff ready. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's about them. And a lot of a common thread I've seen among a lot of these podcasts is the idea of support the people that you lead. And I think this
Mm-hmm.
is another example of that. I want to support them to be successful. So
Mm-hmm.
where are they? How do I need to meet them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that means you need to be prepared. And whatever that means in anybody's field is obviously different. But for
Mm-hmm.
us, what before you go to that first rehearsal and meet this ensemble possibly for the first time, what's a short checklist of the types of things you go through or need to do to prepare yourself for that first rehearsal on whatever concert you're going to be doing?
Mm-hmm. I mean, fundamentally, I need to know the materials cold, basically, because I can't, sorry, alarm. I can't be go by ambulance. I can't be trying to learn what I'm supposed to do at the same time that I'm doing it. I can't have really any doubts about what I'm doing, so I learn the music cold. And then I assess like what are the most difficult bits that we're playing, and to have a list of those, knowing that when I hit those spots, those might be spots that I need to repeat or address and who it might be most difficult for. So if I'm going to break it down into components, I know who to address really quickly. So really sort of anticipating what they're going to need before I get there. And then here's something I think about all the time, but I have a very limited amount of time to accomplish what I need to accomplish. So if I have different segments of music, different cues, different pieces, I have those timed out to the second. So I know how long everything is. I have a rehearsal plan. I know that, by the last half an hour of rehearsal, if I haven't reached these pieces, I am in bad shape. So I have to be at a certain point. So I have benchmarks for myself within even a rehearsal period of what needs to be accomplished. So it's really, it's a little bit of micromanaging, but it's to your point, a really deep knowledge of what I will need to be doing so that when I get to the point of, oh, the orchestra on this day at this point needs this from me, I already have sort of a blueprint of the kinds of things I can do. So it's there from the get-go rather than me trying to figure it out as we go along. So, speaking of tools, those are, very important tools that I utilize for just about everything that I do and in the rest of my life as well. So they're really useful.
Yeah. And then your third point, I love the idea. Everybody is there to achieve the same goal. Everybody wants to put on a good show. They want to play the music to the best of their ability. And I think a thought I had while you were saying that earlier was if everybody understands their role within that making that goal happen, and that you as the conductor, your role is to help bring them all together, and then their role is to play the music, or like you said, they create the sound. You don't create the
Hmm.
sound. If everybody knows their role, maybe sometimes have to be reminded what their role is, then they can achieve that goal. But nobody's there to because they're trying to test you or they're trying to
Mm-mm.
find a reason why you're bad at what you do. And just like you're
Mm-hmm.
not there, hopefully the conductor's not there to find out why they're not good enough or whatever. Let's come together. I think that's kind of a great third point because it even relaxes you into, okay, we're here for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make this be successful, which has, to me, and I know this is a subject you speak on a lot, it has a very collaborative nature to it.
Mm-hmm.
Collaborative leadership. So I know you speak on collaborative leadership a lot, and I think many people who aren't musicians look at a conductor and, oh, that's the person that's telling everybody how to play, what they need to play. But then
Mm-hmm.
here's one of the most successful conductors today saying it's collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean to you, the idea of collaborative leadership with an orchestra?
That's, I guess it incorporates some of what I said about meeting people where they are, understanding their feedback in terms of what they need from me at that particular point, which might change in a concert. It's being sensitive to that relationship. And then also to your point, it's helping everyone know what their place is and how they contribute and where they are in the puzzle. Because as the conductor, I'm the only one looking at the entire score. Players have a single part, so they might know intimately what they're doing within that puzzle, but only I have that blueprint to show them how they fit in. And how I like to think of it is you might have a whole section of second violins playing a tremolo, which is the most boring thing a string player can play. It's just brushing across the string, usually on the same note, It's so boring. And the oboe has this beautiful soaring melody. So if you don't know what's happening, you would just say that the second violins are playing a really boring part and the oboe has a beautiful melody. As a conductor, it's contingent on me to say, hey, that beautiful bed, that shimmering bed of sound creates the overtones that lets that other instrument, the oboe, really ring so that they're more resonant, but that can't exist without that quiet, shimmering, murmuring cushion of sound that is so boring to play. But if players understand that that's what it is, that's the part they play, then they want to play that tremolo with more integrity and intention. And that really translates the ensemble. So I think that part of my job is to say, here's how you fit in. Here's why you're important. Here's how you relate to other players, to other instruments, to incorporate everyone's experience. And being able to communicate that and really help that, I think, is a huge part of what I do. And then just really letting people know, you've got the melody here. Here's a harmony. It's going to come back later. It's going to be really important. Letting people know what the structure of something is and letting them figure out, how do I fit into that? How do I relate to my colleagues within that? So it's really communicating a lot of information and then taking in feedback of, can you give us a cue here? Should we be louder? Are we balancing out this instrument, and being able to respond to their questions? And all of a sudden it becomes a group effort. And I am relieved when it's not about me. I don't want to be the focal point of attention. I'm just the vessel through which the information needs to flow. And I'm the collector of energy and of sound. And then just the fulcrum of that to balance it out so that it can go out to the audience. So I guess it's also having that personal philosophy of, it's not about me. I'm just there with everyone else, helping them do the thing that they are able to do collectively, and to really focus that so that it's accomplishable.
Oh, was the microphone off? Oh,
Yeah, it was off.
sorry.
That's okay.
I think it's interesting. If you go back many, many years, when people would look at an orchestra, they would think, oh, what we're hearing is because it's the interpretation of that conductor, which has some truth to it. But it had created this world where conductors were a little bit more authoritative. It was a little bit more, it's my way or no way. And I think that it's been a good thing to get to a place where that collaborative concept of music making is done now, because I have a feeling it allows audiences, obviously the ultimate goal is the sound that's creating and how it affects the audience. And I think when musicians become more comfortable and they become that collaborative nature and the conductor leads them in that direction, I think that comes through in the performance, and the audience has more of an organic emotional response, as opposed to a musician doing it because they were threatened to do it or because they were afraid if they didn't get it right, and everybody has their own ways of doing things. But to me, it's a much more enjoyable experience throughout for everybody. And because I think you said it best, we have to remember these are individual people in the first place. We're leading people. And if you're leading people, there's going to be certain similarities. So, thank you so much for joining me today and bringing these great bits of information. I know out of your 37 weeks of travel, we happen to find you on a day where you actually are at home, which might be a rare thing. But thank you so much for taking your rare at-home time to spend with us here on the podcast, and safe travels to wherever the next place is you're going to be going.
Thanks. It's been my pleasure, Steve.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for joining us today on the Fox Den, and we will see you real soon. Thanks. Bye.
Visit us at foxpoint.net and StephenAllenFox.com.